The air inside the Oakwood Funeral Home in Springfield, Illinois, hung heavy with grief and the scent of lilies, the soft hum of mourners' whispers blending with the preacher's somber prayers. Rows of pews brimmed with police officers in crisp dress blues, city officials in dark suits, and townsfolk clutching tissues, all gathered to bid farewell to Chief Sam Grayson, a titan of Springfield's police force. His polished mahogany coffin rested at the front, draped in an American flag, medals glinting under the dim chandelier light, a hero laid to rest after a sudden heart attack. Or so the story went. But the stillness shattered and a German shepherd's bark tore through the room like a gunshot. Titan, Chief Grayson's retired K-9 partner, stood rigid near the casket. His black and tan fur bristling, amber eyes locked on the wood as if it held a secret. His barks, sharp, insistent, desperate, ricocheted off the walls, drowning out the preacher's words and the muffled sobs. "Get that dog out of here!" Deputy Chief Victor Lang snapped, his face reddening as he waved a hand, his polished demeanor cracking under the disruption. Two officers moved to grab Titan's leash. But the dog lunged free, charging the coffin with such force that a vase of roses crashed to the floor, petals scattering like bloodstains. Detective Jake Sullivan watched from the third pew, his gray eyes narrowing. At 44, he bore the weathered look of a man who'd spent 2 decades chasing shadows, his dark hair streaked with silver, his jaw set tight from years of biting back questions. Titan's behavior wasn't grief, Jake knew that dog too well. He'd seen him sniff out bombs, track killers, signal danger with that same relentless bark. This was an alert, a warning, and it sent a chill racing down Jake's spine. "Titan, easy," Jake called, stepping forward as mourners gasped and Chief Grayson's widow, Ellen, pressed trembling hands to her lips. The dog's teeth tore at the coffin's silk lining, claws scraping wood, his growls growing frantic. Chaos erupted, officers shouting, hands reaching to restrain him, but Jake raised a hand, his voice cutting through the din. "Stop. Open it. Open the damn coffin, now." The room froze, a stunned silence swallowing Titan's growls. "What the hell, Sullivan?" Lang hissed, stepping between Jake and the casket. His politician's smile replaced by a scowl. "This is a funeral, not one of your crime scenes." But Ellen Grayson's voice, soft yet firm, broke the standoff. "Do it, Jake. If Titan's this worked up, Sam would want us to listen." Her hazel eyes, red-rimmed but steady, met his, a flicker of trust amid her shock. Jake Sullivan had joined the Springfield PD 22 years ago. A scrappy kid fresh from a broken home, mentored by Sam Grayson after a petty theft arrest at 17. Sam had seen potential in him, offered him a deal, community service over jail. A chance to turn his life around. Over meatloaf at the Grayson table, Jake found a father figure, and later, a boss who'd shaped him into a detective with instincts sharper than steel. Now, at 44, widowed 5 years by a car accident that took his wife, Lisa, Jake lived alone in a house too quiet, his only company the ghosts of cases unsolved and a bottle of bourbon he rarely touched. Sam Grayson had been Springfield's rock, 59, 6'3", with a linebacker's build and a salt and pepper buzz cut framing a face both warm and commanding. For 35 years. He'd led with integrity, turning a struggling department into a beacon of trust. He and Ellen, a retired nurse with a gentle strength, had no kids, 3 miscarriages had sealed that wound, but they'd fostered countless strays. Human and canine alike. Titan came into their lives 8 years back, a K-9 survivor of a botched raid that killed his first handler. Sam nursed him through a shattered leg, and when the dog's limp retired him from duty, he became family. Victor Lang, Sam's deputy for a decade, was 47, trim and meticulous, with slick blonde hair and a smile that never reached his eyes. Ambitious and polished. He'd always been respected but never loved like Sam. Dr. Abigail "Abby" Torres, the county coroner, stood near the back, her sharp brown eyes flicking between Titan and the coffin. At 36, she was new to Springfield but known for precision. Her unease with Sam's death report had gnawed at her since the paramedics' call. Springfield itself was a Midwestern patchwork, 80,000 souls in a town once buoyed by steel mills, now grappling with job loss and a creeping opioid wave. Sam had been spearheading a crackdown on a drug ring tied to the city's elite. A fight that stirred whispers of enemies in high places. His death at home, found by Ellen on their couch after a grocery run, came too fast, too clean. The call had hit Jake at 6:15 p.m. Hunched over files in his cluttered office. Officer Kelly Brooks' voice shook as she broke the news. Chief Grayson's gone, heart attack, they think. Ellen found him. Paramedics confirmed it. Jake's world tilted. Sam, dead? The man ran 6 miles daily, laughed off retirement last week. That's bullshit, Jake had growled, grabbing his coat. I saw him this morning, he was fine. Their last talk had been at 8 a.m. over diner coffee, dissecting the drug case. Sam had been tense, cryptic, said to meet him tomorrow, alone, no one else, not even Lang. Something's off, Jake, he'd muttered. Keep it quiet. Now, Lang was rushing the funeral, citing Ellen's wishes, bypassing an autopsy. It stank, and Jake's gut screamed louder than protocol. At the funeral home, Ellen had gripped his arm, her voice a whisper. He was healthy, Jake. Perfect checkup last month. He'd been working late, wouldn't tell me why. Titan's arrival, dragged in by a neighbor, unleashed the storm. The dog bolted for the coffin, barking with a fury Jake hadn't seen since Sam's K9 days. Lang's protests, control that mutt, fell on deaf ears as Titan's desperation clawed at Jake's instincts. Open it, Jake repeated, locking eyes with the funeral director, a wiry man named Tompkins. Now. Tompkins hesitated, glancing at Ellen, who nodded through tears. Do it. Titan fell silent, watching as the latches clicked open, the lid creaking upward. The room held its breath. Sam Grayson lay still, hands folded, uniform pristine, too still. Until Abby Torres pushed forward, her fingers pressing his neck. 10 seconds stretched into forever, then her voice cut the silence like a blade. There's a pulse, faint, but he's alive. Pandemonium erupted, Ellen sobbing, officers shouting, Titan barking triumphantly. Get back! Abby yelled, taking charge. Call an ambulance, move. Jake was already dialing. His eyes on Lang, whose face drained of color, not with joy, but something darker. Abby's fingers found a puncture mark under Sam's collar, small, bruised, hidden. This isn't natural, she whispered to Jake. Injection site. The realization hit like a freight train. Someone had tried to kill Sam Grayson, and nearly buried him alive. As paramedics stormed in, Jake scanned the chaos, Lang slipping toward the exit. Kelly, he barked at Brooks. Crime scene team, now. No one leaves. And find Lang, he's a person of interest. Titan stood guard by the gurney as Sam was wheeled out. Ellen clutching his hand. Jake followed, his mind racing. This wasn't a heart attack, it was murder, interrupted. And Titan's bark had just blown the lid off a conspiracy that someone wanted buried with the chief. The Springfield hospital buzzed with urgency as paramedics rushed Chief Sam Grayson into the ICU, his faint heartbeat a fragile thread against the chaos. Detective Jake Sullivan paced the waiting room. His shoulder throbbing from an old injury flared by the night's tension, his mind a storm of questions. Titan sat by the door, bandaged but unyielding, refusing to leave until Jake convinced security to let him stay. Ellen Grayson slumped in a chair, her nurse's calm shattered, clutching Titan's leash like a lifeline as tears streaked her face. Dr. Abigail Torres emerged after an hour, her scrubs wrinkled. Her expression grim. "He's stable, but critical," she told Ellen, voice steady but heavy. "We found a synthetic toxin in his system, slows the heart and breathing to mimic death." "Another few hours, Anne." She didn't finish, but the implication hung like a noose. "Will he wake up?" Ellen whispered. Abby hesitated. "Too early to say. The poison caused oxygen deprivation, there could be brain damage. We're countering it, but this stuff's rare, military grade, not street junk." Jake's fists clenched. "When was it given?" "Last 24 to 36 hours, Abby said, lowering her voice for him alone. "Multiple doses, likely over days, with a final hit yesterday. Someone planned this slow." Jake's phone buzzed, a forensic tech from the funeral home. "Found a broken needle tip in the coffin lining. Sir. Someone tried another dose after he was laid out. His blood ran cold. Attempted murder, staged as a natural death, and they'd nearly sealed Sam underground. Secure the scene," he ordered. "And Grayson's house, CSI there now." Ellen's voice cut through his thoughts. "He'd been off, Jake, working late, secretive. 3 nights ago, I overheard him on the phone in his study. Said, 'It's bigger than we thought, goes right to the top.' He brushed me off when I asked." "To the top," Jake echoed, filing it away. The drug case Sam had been chasing wasn't just street dealers, it was a web reaching Springfield's power brokers. Deputy Chief Victor Lang's hasty exit gnawed at him, too smooth, too fast for a grieving second-in-command. Kelly Brooks burst in, breathless. Lang's cruisers at the train station, abandoned. And the chief's home office was tossed, safe open, files gone. "Ellen's sister says the drug case docs are missing." "Lang," Jake muttered, the pieces clicking. "Get an APB out, he's not just running. He's covering tracks." The hospital room became a fortress, 2 officers at the door, monitors beeping as Sam lay wired to life. Jake stood watch, Titan at his feet, when Abby slipped in with a file. "Toxicology's back, tetrodotoxin derivative, modified for stealth. Designed to fool paramedics. And this," she pointed to Sam's arm, "another puncture mark. Someone got close." "Jake. Real close. Family close?" he asked, thinking of Ellen's trust in her circle. Abby nodded grimly. "Or someone he'd never suspect." Midnight brought a flicker of hospital lights, power dipping. Then stabilizing on generators. Jake's radio crackled uselessly, jammed. "Security breach," he growled, gun drawn as Titan's hackles rose. Through the door's window, he saw a figure in scrubs arguing with the guard. Then lunging, a flash of steel, a muffled cry. The officer fell, clutching his side, as the attacker shoved toward the room. Jake braced himself. "Titan, guard." The dog sprang between Sam's bed and the door. Teeth bared. The door burst open, and Victor Lang froze, surgical mask slipping, blood on his gloves, fresh from the guard. "You couldn't leave it alone, Sullivan," Lang snarled. A scalpel glinting in his hand. "Drop it, Lang, on your knees." Jake's gun leveled, steady despite the adrenaline. Lang laughed, bitter and unhinged. "You think this ends with me? It's bigger than Springfield, bigger than you can touch." Gunfire echoed outside, screams, chaos. Lang lunged, scalpel slashing for Jake's throat. Jake fired, the bullet grazing Lang's arm, but the deputy tackled him, pinning him to the floor. The blade hovered inches from Jake's eye, Lang's weight crushing his chest. "Should have stayed out of it," Lang hissed. A blur of fur, Titan struck, jaws clamping Lang's forearm. The scalpel clattered free as Lang screamed, Jake shoving him off with a knee to the gut. "Tighten, hold." The dog pinned Lang, growling, as Jake retrieved his weapon. "Who's behind it? Give me a name." Lang's eyes flicked to the door, a smirk twisting his bloodied face. "You're too late." Pain exploded at Jake's skull, a second figure, tall and suited, wielding an oxygen tank. Titan lunged, but the man swung, a sickening thud sending the dog sprawling with a yelp. Jake staggered, ribs cracking under Lang's boot, vision blurring as the newcomer produced a syringe. "Finish it, natural causes," the man ordered, voice smooth, accented. "Kingpin," Jake rasped, recognizing the tone from a late-night call Sam had once taken. The needle neared Sam's fore. But Titan rose, bloodied, and lunged again. Jake seized the moment, elbowing Lang's knee, grabbing his gun. The door slammed open, Kelly Brooks and officers stormed in, guns blazing. "Freeze!" The suited man, Kingpin, jabbed the syringe into Lang's neck instead, shoving him at the cops as a shield. Lang convulsed, eyes wide with betrayal. "You said," he choked. Collapsing. Kingpin fired a handgun, the shot searing Jake's shoulder as he dove to shield Titan. Kelly's bullet caught Kingpin in the chest, dropping him mid-escape. Darkness swallowed Jake. Titan's whimpers fading as he blacked out, the last sound the steady beep of Sam's monitor, still alive, still fighting. Jake Sullivan woke to the sterile hum of Springfield Hospital. Pain radiating from his shoulder, his ribs a dull ache with every breath. Bandages wrapped his chest, and 4 dripping into his arm, but his first thought was Titan. "He's okay," Ellen Grayson said from his bedside, her voice weary but warm. "Fractured rib, concussion, vet says he'll pull through. He's at the animal hospital." Relief hit Jake like a wave. Followed by the chief. "Sam?" "Stable," Ellen replied, offering him water. "He woke briefly yesterday, asked for you and Titan. You've been out 36 hours, bullet went through. But infection set in." "Lang?" "Dead," she said, her face hardening. "Whatever was in that syringe, fast and brutal." "And the other guy?" "In surgery," Ellen answered, gripping her coffee cup. "He'll live, for trial. It's Judge Henry Baxter, Jake. The judge who married us. Sam's friend for 20 years. The betrayal sank in, Baxter, a pillar of Springfield's justice system. Unmasked as Kingpin. Jake's mind spun to the mayor, Robert Klein, arrested that morning, per Kelly Brooks' update. The FBI had swept in, 17 arrests across the department and City Hall. A cartel network crumbling under Sam's hidden evidence. Kelly slipped in, exhaustion lining her young face. "Baxter's talking, cutting a deal. Says Lang ran point with the cartel. Brought him and Klein in for cover. Poison was Baxter's idea, tetrodotoxin from his connections. And you were next, sir, found a burial plot with your name in his office." Jake's jaw tightened. "How'd they dose Sam?" "Toxicology found it in his coffee, traces in the station breakroom machine. Targeted, slow, over weeks." Kelly hesitated. "Only 4 knew Sam's brand, you. Lang, his assistant, and Ellen's sister, Linda." Ellen paled, coffee spilling as her hand shook. "Linda? She's been dating Baxter," Kelly said grimly. "Payments to her account, brought Sam coffee daily. Said it was love. She's in custody." Ellen's voice broke. "She poisoned my husband, my sister?" Jake squeezed her hand, guilt gnawing at him for not seeing it sooner. Alarms blared, ICU chaos. "Sam," Jake rasped, forcing himself up despite the pain. Ellen ran ahead, Jake hobbling after, Kelly on his heels. Doctors swarmed Sam's room, CPR in frantic rhythm, monitors flatlining. He crashed, no warning, a nurse shouted. Defibrillators charged, once, twice, then a faint beep flickered to life. He's back, a doctor said, breathless. But another dose, same toxin. Critical now. Ellen clutched Jake, sobbing. Linda was here, 10 minutes ago, with coffee for the guards. She's not done, Jake growled. Kelly, find her, now. Linda sat in the security office. Handcuffed, tears streaking her face as Ellen confronted her. Why? Ellen demanded, voice ice cold. Baxter said it'd just make him retire, Linda sobbed. Stress symptoms, nothing lethal. Then Lang said he had to die, or they'd kill my son, Tommy. I had no choice. You had me, Ellen snapped. You chose a monster over us. Dr. Abigail Torres burst in. Sam's kidneys are failing, brain damage showing. Experimental treatments are shot, but it's risky, could save him or kill him. Do it, Ellen said, steel in her grief. Sam fights. Linda's confession unraveled more, Baxter as kingpin. Klein laundering money, a cartel tied to terrorism funding Sam had uncovered. But a bigger shadow loomed. Sam's voice, weak from his bed hours later, rasped, safety deposit box, my desk. False bottom. Evidence on the real head, Commissioner Paul Decker. Decker, Springfield's top official, Sam's appointer, a public saint, ran it all. Jake, on crutches, teamed with FBI agent Mark Hensley to retrieve the box amid Decker's men watching the bank. A diversion, FBI agents storming the front, let Hensley's team slip in, securing files, millions in cartel cash, recordings, Decker's orders to kill Sam and frame Jake. Decker visited the hospital. All charm, probing Sam's memory. Jake baited him via a call from Sam, Paul, I've got docs on our investments, Cayman accounts. Carson's digging. Decker's mask slipped, he sent hitmen to Jake's house. Caught by FBI in a flashbang trap. Decker's arrest at dawn exposed a statewide web, 6 more officials down, a reckoning begun. Weeks later, Sam walked out, cane in hand. Mind intact, defying odds. Jake, scarred but healing, pinned a medal on Titan at a quiet ceremony, the dog limping but proud. Springfield rebuilt, one honest step at a time, thanks to a bark that refused to be silenced. Lesson from the story. Never underestimate the power of instinct and loyalty, sometimes the truth only breaks free when we listen to those who won't stay silent. Titan's relentless barking at Chief Grayson's coffin uncovered a deadly conspiracy. Proving that courage, whether from a dog or a determined detective like Jake Sullivan, can defy betrayal and spark justice. This tale teaches us that even in our darkest moments, trusting the smallest signs, and those who stand by us, can turn the tide against corruption and despair. What do you think, could a pet's instinct ever save the day for you? Have you seen loyalty shine through when all seemed lost? Drop your stories in the comments, we're dying to read them. If Titan and Jake's fight for justice gripped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and smack the bell for more thrilling tales. Tell us where you're watching from and what kind of dog-driven drama you want next. Let's keep the truth barking loud.